Kuwait, March 1st, 2026, 9 in the morning, local time. A single Iranian projectile crosses the sky unopposed. No alarm, no siren, no warning. It slams into a triple trailer at the civilian port of Shuaiba. Inside was a makeshift tactical operations center belonging to the U.S. Army's 1st Theater Sustainment Command. Logistics personnel. Soldiers managing supply chains, not fighter pilots. The hit was dead center. The trailer ceased to exist. 6 American soldiers were killed. 4 more were critically wounded. 2 Kuwaiti sailors guarding the perimeter also lost their lives. 2 hours earlier, 3 F-15E Strike Eagles from the 4th Fighter Wing, the very same jets that had been intercepting Iranian drones over Kuwait, were shot down by Kuwaiti Patriot batteries. Friendly fire. 6 pilots ejected over the Al Jarrah Desert and survived. All told, Iran hurled 380 weapons at Kuwait in under 6 hours. 97 ballistic missiles. 283 drones. Over 90% were intercepted, but the ones that got through killed soldiers, destroyed Allied fighters, and knocked out an air base. And 28 minutes after the impact at Shuaiba, every Iranian launcher that had fired was wiped off the map. But Tehran made 4 catastrophic mistakes that turned their saturation plan into their own death sentence. First, they believed draining the Patriots was enough to win. It wasn't. Second, every Iranian mobile launch vehicle had been tracked by satellite for 72 hours before the first shot was fired. Third, they exposed every single launch position on the flank, closest to the Gulf, in a single night. And fourth, they never calculated what happens when a force that already has B-2 spirits in holding orbit with preloaded coordinates gets the order to fire. This is what happened, minute by minute, 48 hours earlier. February 27th, Tehran, an underground command bunker belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Operation Epic Fury, the joint U.S. Israeli strike, had been underway for hours. Hundreds of Iranian targets were burning. The supreme leader was dead. The chain of command shattered. And in that room, an IRGC Aerospace Force brigadier general laid out the definitive response. The plan was built on a mathematical premise. The Patriot PAC-3 batteries deployed in Kuwait carry a finite number of interceptors. Each PAC-3 MSE missile costs $3 million. Each Shahed-136 drone costs $20,000. If you launch enough shot heads in consecutive waves, you force the enemy to burn through their interceptors on cheap targets. When the batteries run dry, you send in the real ballistics, unopposed. Impact guaranteed. The general rolled out the map. 3 simultaneous targets in Kuwait. Ali al-Salem Air Base, the primary American air base housing the 386th Expeditionary Wing, Camp Arifjan, the logistical nerve center with 13,500 personnel, and the port of Shuaiba, where a section of the 1st Theater Sustainment Command was operating out of an office trailer. 283 drones in 3 waves, spaced 90 minutes apart, followed by 97 ballistic missiles in the 4th wave. Once the Patriots are dry, the general said, Kuwait becomes an open field. An intelligence colonel at the back of the room raised his hand. If we launch the ballistics from the southwest, every transporter erector launcher will be exposed on open terrain for at least 40 minutes between deployment and firing. If the Americans have continuous satellite coverage and they do, every TEL will be a target before the dust settles, the general answered without looking at him. By the time they locate the launchers, the damage will already be done. The colonel didn't push back. He should have. While the plan took shape beneath Tehran, 280 miles to the southwest, the American intelligence machine was already logging every move. February 28th. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency picked up mobile launch platforms rolling out of camouflaged hangars in Khuzestan and Bushehr, 6-axle Zafar trucks hauling 26-foot cylindrical containers. Fateh-110, solid fuel. Range, 190 miles. Warhead, 1,100 pounds. Re-entry speed, Mach 5. An object weighing over 7,600 pounds falling at 5 times the speed of sound with accuracy under 30 feet. Alongside them, Zolfaghars with a range of over 400 miles and warhead separation designed to evade interceptors. Analysts at CENTCOM counted 17 TELs fanning out toward the coast. And here's where the irony turns lethal. The Iranians knew they'd be detected. Their doctrine assumed the gap between detection and response would be enough to fire and relocate. What they didn't know was that for the past 72 hours, every single TEL had already been assigned an identifier in the targeting system. They weren't being searched for. They'd already been found. But the order from CENTCOM was clear: don't shoot, let them reveal all their positions, wait until they show their full hand. It was a gamble with a cost nobody fully anticipated. On the other side of the Gulf, positioned in northern waters, the destroyer USS Thomas Hudner, G-116, Arleigh Burke Flight IIA class. 96 vertical launch cells, Tomahawk Block 5 cruise missiles with a range of 1,000 miles and a 1,000-pound warhead, capable of being reprogrammed mid-flight. Alongside it, orbiting above the Gulf of Oman, 2 B-2 Spirits from the 509th Wing out of Whiteman, Missouri, each one loaded with 16 2,000-pound GBU-57S. Bunker buster bombs designed to punch through 20 feet of reinforced concrete. Against a launch truck sitting in an open field, the effect would be absolute. All they needed were coordinates. And those coordinates would deliver themselves the moment Iran pulled the trigger. March 1st, 3:17 a.m. local time. First wave, 120 Shahed 136 drones crossed the Iranian coastline in staggered formation, 50 feet above the Gulf waters. 112 miles per hour. Minimal radar signature. Two-stroke engine that sounds like a distant chainsaw. On the Kuwaiti radar stations, the screen lit up all at once. An operator transmitted. Multiple contacts. Bearing 035, I count. 120 low-altitude contacts approaching in a fan pattern. Classification, Shad-type drones. Requesting weapons free. The Patriot batteries went hot. The first PAC-3 MSE roared out of their cells loud enough to wake half of Kuwait City. Each interceptor locked onto its target with active Ka-band radar. Hit after hit, tiny fireballs over the Gulf. But every interceptor spent was one less for what was coming next. 3:45. Second wave. 83 more Shaheds, this time mixed in with aluminum decoys and thermal flares that multiplied the contacts on screen. Operators were sorting real targets from electronic ghosts in fractions of a second. The radio crackled. Battery Alpha, inventory at 60%. Rate of expenditure unsustainable. Requesting target prioritization. Copy. Alpha. Prioritize ballistic contacts. Say again. Prioritize ballistics. Let the low-altitude ones through, if you have to. 4:15. Third wave. And this is where everything changed. 80 more drones, but now accompanied by the first real ballistic missiles. 18 Fateh-110s rose from Khuzestan in rapid sequence. Ballistic trajectory. Apogee at 93 miles. Re-entry at Mach 5. A radar operator screamed over the frequency. Ballistic alert. 18 tracks ascending from the northeast sector. Classification. Fate. Estimated time to impact. 3 minutes, 40 seconds. The Patriots now faced an impossible choice. Each interceptor could go after a $20,000 drone, or a 1,000-pound warhead, falling at 5 times the speed of sound. Protocols prioritized the ballistics. The drones slipped through. A shade hit the runway at Ali Al Salem. 3 columns of black smoke rose above the base. Italian forces stationed there scrambled into bunkers. The runway was out of action. Another drone struck Kuwait International Airport. Interceptor debris rained down on residential neighborhoods. 4:47. The radio from the Patriot battery nearest to the port of Shuaiba. Battery Charlie inventory critical. 4 interceptors remaining. Say again. 4. 4:52. Charlie, 2 interceptors left. We need immediate resupply. 4:58. 3 seconds of dead air on the frequency. Then the 2 words no air defense gunner ever wants to say. Winchester. Winchester. Battery Charlie is black on ammo. Cells empty. We have 0 intercept capability. Say again. 0 capability. The battery was dry, and the 4th Iranian wave was already airborne. 5:02. 31 Fateh-110s and Zolfaghars crossed into Kuwaiti airspace. Clean ballistic flight. No opposition in the southern sector. Some batteries in adjacent sectors that still had rounds picked off part of the wave, but coverage was spotty at best. 5:08. First impacts. Shrapnel struck the Mina al-Ahmadi refinery, 346,000 barrels a day. 2 workers injured. 5:11. Impacts near Camp Arifjan. 5:14. The U.S. Embassy in Kuwait City took a hit, black smoke visible for miles. But missiles weren't the only thing in the sky over Kuwait. From the very start of the waves, American fighters had been operating in the chaos, intercepting drones. And the airspace had turned into an identification nightmare. Hundreds of simultaneous contacts, Allied and enemy missiles crisscrossing, low-altitude drones, high-altitude ballistics. Combat aircraft from 3 different nations operating in the same corridor. 701. 3 F-15E Strike Eagles from the 4th Fighter Wing, home based at Seymour Johnson, North Carolina, deployed for Epic Fury, were chasing Shahed drones over northern Kuwait. Each of those jets is worth $100 million. Each carried a pilot and a weapons systems officer. The radio caught the flight lead. Viper 1-1, Splash 2 Shaheds confirmed. Repositioning north for next group of contacts. 703. A Kuwaiti Patriot battery detected 3 fast-moving contacts at medium altitude approaching from the north. The flight profile matched Iranian cruise missiles. The IFF system either failed or wasn't queried in time. 3 PAC-3 MSEs left their cells. 7:03 and 15 seconds. First hit, the lead Strike Eagle took the missile in the tail. The vertical stabilizers were ripped clean off. The jet went into a flat spin engulfed in flames. 7:03 and 18 seconds. Second hit, the Patriot detonated against the fuselage of the second F-15E. Instant fire in the right engine. 7:03 and 21 seconds. Third hit. 3 American jets falling out of the sky in 8 seconds. The radio erupted. Mayday, mayday, mayday. Viper 1-1 ejecting. 2 crew out. Viper 1-2. Fire in engine 2. We're punching out. Viper 1-3. We're hit, losing lift. Eject, eject, eject. 6 Martin Baker seats, fired in sequence. 6 parachutes opened over the Al Jarrah Desert. Videos captured from the ground showed a Strike Eagle in a flat spin, stabilizers gone, fire pouring from the rear, before it cratered less than 6 miles from Ali al-Salem. $100 million slamming into the desert. 3 times. The Allied defenses designed to protect them had shot them down. Kuwaiti civilians found them first. The footage showed an American pilot on the ground, dazed, surrounded by locals telling him in English, "Are you okay? Thank you for helping us." All 6 crew members survived. Minor injuries. Ejection bruises. 1 with a fractured wrist. All conscious. $300 million in fighter jets destroyed by their own allies in 8 seconds. And the worst part was still coming. Because the ballistics that had gotten through in the 4th wave weren't done. Some had programmed delays. Others had followed longer trajectories. And one of them, a single projectile, was still flying toward the port of Shuaiba. 900 hours. 2 hours after the friendly fire. No alarm. No siren. Nothing between the warhead and the ground. Direct hit on the dead center of the triple trailer at the port of Shuaiba. The structure disintegrated. The soldiers inside had been working. Screens on. Comms active. The radio from nearby units captured the sequence. Impact at Shuaiba. Direct hit on the TOC. We need medevac now. Personnel trapped. The building is gone. 903. Confirming multiple KIA. Say again. Multiple killed in action at the TOC. No structure standing. We need extraction teams with heavy equipment. 6 soldiers from the 1st Theater Sustainment Command were killed. 4 more were evacuated with severe injuries. 2 Kuwaiti sailors from the perimeter also lost their lives. Rescue teams would spend hours recovering the remains of the last 2 bodies. They were logistics personnel. They managed supplies, transport routes, inventories. They weren't wearing body armor. They were at a civilian port. And now that port was a grave. Beneath Tehran, in the IRGC bunker, the first reports had generated something close to optimism. The destroyed drones were expected, they were expendable. What mattered was the reporting from the final waves. Confirmed impacts in Kuwait. Ali al-Salem damaged. Refinery hit, Shuaiba destroyed. 3 enemy fighters shot down by their own defense system. The general who designed the plan received the news with a half smile. It worked, he said. It worked for exactly 28 minutes. 9:28. A communications officer burst into the room. The launchers in Sector 3 aren't responding. The general asked for confirmation. Sector 1 is also down. Sector 2 reports direct hits on deployment positions. We're losing contact with every platform in the southwest. When was the last shot fired by those units? 31 minutes ago, General. And they're already destroyed? Affirmative. Multiple impacts confirmed by observation units. Craters where the TELs used to be. Here's what had happened. The very instant each TEL fired its missile, the infrared flash from the motor was picked up by early warning satellites. Coordinates were transmitted in real time to the Combined Air Operations Center at Al-Udeid, and from there to the assets already in position. 9:28. The 2B-2 Spirits from the 509th Wing received updated targeting packages. Bomb bay doors open. The GBU-57S fell with GPS guidance accurate to the meter. 9:31. First impact in Khuzestan. 3 Fateh-110 TELs that were still in the process of pulling out turned into craters. The Zafar trucks vanished. 9:33. Second pass. 4 more TELs destroyed within a 1.25 mile radius. 9:35. The USS Thomas Hudner opened its 96 cells. The Tomahawk Block Fives launched in sequence. Sea skimming flight. 50 feet off the water. 1,000-pound warhead each. Hunting exact coordinates. 9:38. First Tomahawk striking positions in Bushehr. 3 Zolfaghar launchers destroyed before they could finish relocating. 9:40. Second B-2 Passover and underground missile depot. The GBU-57S punched through the concrete roof. Internal detonation. The secondary explosion was visible from 19 miles out. 9:42. In the Gulf, the Iranian corvette Jamaran, Mauj class, 1,500 tons, operating out of Chabahar, was located by a P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft. 2 harpoons launched from an Allied destroyer. Sea skimming flight. 488-pound warheads designed to break a ship in half. Impact on the waterline. The Jamaran listed in under 4 minutes. CENTCOM would later release the image, black smoke rising from the superstructure as the ship sank stern first. 9:45. F-35A Lightning TIEs from the 388th Wing took out 2 Iranian air defense radar stations on the coast that were trying to direct anti-aircraft fire against the B-2S. JASSMER missiles, launched from 112 miles away. The Iranian operators never saw what killed them. 9:47. The general in the bunker received the full picture. General, of the 17 TELs deployed in the southwest, 14 are confirmed destroyed. The remaining 3 are not responding and presumed destroyed. What about the reserve batteries in Isfahan? Intact but out of range of Kuwait. We'd need to reposition, and that would take, how long? 6 hours minimum, under enemy air supremacy. They'd be destroyed in transit. Silence. The general who designed a mathematically perfect plan to drain the Patriots now understood that math works both ways. He'd calculated how many drones he needed to exhaust the interceptors. The Americans had calculated how many bombs they needed to eliminate every launcher, and their math was faster. 9:51. A fresh salvo of Tomahawks hit IRGC logistics depots in the southwest. 9:54. B-1B Lancers joined in from a holding orbit farther east, dropping JDAMs on coastal artillery positions controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Iran had shut it down hours earlier. An IRGC spokesman had declared that any vessel attempting to pass would be set ablaze. An Iranian drone had hit the tanker 8th Nova, with 2 strikes that left it burning. Another drone killed a sailor and damaged 3 more tankers. Now the batteries enforcing that blockade were being systematically wiped out. 9:57. More JDAM strikes on Bushehr. 1000 hours. In just 32 minutes from the first bomb, Iran's entire launch capability along its western flank had ceased to exist. Secretary of Defense Hegseth described what happened at Shuaiba. "We have incredible air defenders. Every once in a while one gets through. In this case, it hit a tactical operations center that was fortified, but these are powerful weapons. One round that got through. Out of 380 launched. But that single round found the worst possible place at the worst possible moment." CENTCOM confirmed the F-15E friendly fire. 3 Strike Eagles shot down by Kuwaiti air defenses at 7:03 a.m. during active combat involving Iranian aircraft attacks, ballistic missiles, and drones. $300 million in fighters destroyed by their own allies in 8 seconds. Kuwait acknowledged it. All 6 pilots were alive. But at Shuaiba, the rescue teams were still pulling out bodies. The ledger from those 6 hours was written with the cold precision of a combat report. 380 Iranian weapons launched at Kuwait. 97 ballistics, 283 drones, over 90% intercepted. But the ones that got through killed 6 soldiers and 2 sailors, critically wounded 18, knocked Ali al-Salem out of action, hit the embassy, struck a refinery, shut down the international airport, and destroyed 3 Allied fighters through friendly fire. And on the other side, every launcher that fired, erased. Over 1,000 targets destroyed in 57 hours of epic fury. The corvette Jamaran, at the bottom of the sea. 9 warships sunk in total. Coastal radars eliminated. Underground depots blown open. The Strait of Hormuz being pried back open by force, while oil prices spiked nearly 10% on global markets. Iran designed a saturation plan built on flawless military logic. Exhaust the interceptors. Open the sky. Strike unopposed. And it worked. For 28 minutes, the sky over Kuwait was wide open. For 28 minutes, there was nothing between the soldiers at Shuaiba and what was falling. But those 28 minutes were also the last ones Iran would ever have launch capability on its western flank. Don't drain the Patriots if you can't survive what comes after. Don't reveal your launchers if the satellite is already watching. Don't close the strait if you can't defend the batteries that control it. And don't wake up a force that already has B-2S in orbit, Tomahawks in the cells, and preloaded coordinates waiting for an order. Because what answers you doesn't take 28 minutes to arrive. It takes 28 minutes to finish. At the port of Shuaiba, by dawn the following day, there were no sirens, no alarms. Just the Gulf wind blowing through the remains of a place where 6 soldiers had been managing inventories, never knowing the sky above them was already empty.